Hey guys, welcome to a very special video that I've been wanting to make for quite some time. The subjective criteria rubrics based video game rating system. As some of you may know, I'm a full-time teacher and I've been thinking about how we judge video games, especially when it comes to rating systems. I recently created another video that discusses how rating and scoring systems are flawed based on my observations and experience as a teacher who deals with grades almost every day. If you'd like to watch that video first, click the annotation on the screen now and I'll open in a new window. Otherwise, I highly recommend that you watch that video after this one so you can get the full picture before joining the discussion. Okay, good? Let's continue. Let's start with some definitions. So first, a criteria. A criteria is a quality which may be judged. And rubrics are descriptions that serve as a means of communicating expectations. Now, there are a million ways to do this, but this is how I'm going to do it for demonstration purposes. Each criteria has a description and 4 possible scores, 0 to 3. And each score, in turn, has its own description within that criteria. This creates a rubric or description-based system around the qualities of a game that are going to be judged. A score of 0 means that quality is non-existent, a score of 1 means it's a weak example, a score of 2 means it's a decent example, and a score of 3 means it's an excellent example. Now, as an experiment, I've tried to create one of these systems based around the 9 things that I subjectively value in video games. The point of this is really to show you guys a method of judging that's a lot more effective, but everyone is looking for something different when it comes to games, so I would recommend that you come up with your own set of criteria of what you value. This is because if, for example, a reviewer values good graphics, their review results might be very skewed for someone who doesn't care about graphics at all. So you should come up with your own, but you can use mine as an example. Now, in no particular order of importance, here are my 9 criteria. Criteria 1, a need for exploration and deduction, not just geographically but mentally too, with effective and interesting use of in-game descriptions and visual cues. 0 means what you see is what you get. If there are any puzzles, they are straightforward and instantly solvable. 1 means things aren't immediately obvious, but with a little testing you figure things out. 2 means paying attention to details and taking your time to explore reveals secrets, lore, and rewards. And 3 means trial and error, thinking skills, learning, unlearning, multiple paths, and wonder, all taking place. A good example of this would be Antechamber or Mist. Criteria 2, moral ambiguity. Choices are actually difficult to make and there's no obvious good or bad ones. 0 means choices are blatantly obvious, much like those personality tests that you can predict the outcome from the choice of answers. 1 means there is a little choice, though it's not difficult to make the right decision. 2 means choices can be tough and you're not too sure how to create the outcome you desire. And 3 means choosing between good and evil is near impossible and you don't even know if you're good or evil yourself. A good example of this would be The Wolf Among Us. Criteria 3, unpredictability. The outcome of your choices are unexpected and have some real plot twists that make sense but you can't see coming. 0 means you saw it coming a mile away. 1 means although there were some choices to make, you kinda could've guessed where it was going. 2 means there are some twists, relationship changes, and consequences that were difficult to predict. And 3 means I just wanted to help but now everyone is dead. A good example of this would be The Witcher. Criteria 4, a sense of consequence. Your choices actually seriously affect future gameplay. Loss or gain of characters, locked quest lines, difficulty, storyline, endings, dialogue, in-game feedback changes with climate or NPC reactions. This also provides replayability. Score of 0 means nothing you do changes the status or outcome of anything. 1 means better choices can give you easier missions and maybe bonus resources of some kind. 2, there are relationship, economical, and gameplay changes and possibly alternate endings. And 3, every choice and action impacts the world, its status, and the feedback you receive, sending you down one of many unique paths. I find a good example of this would be Age of Wonders 1. Criteria 5, mature themes. Now, I don't mean sex or explicit violence, but dealing with abandonment, love, loneliness, loss, death, slavery, dictatorship, substance abuse, starvation, poverty, allegiance changes, conflicts of interest. All these can be applied to any context, even a children's game. 0 means no thought-provoking ideas at all. 1 means being good makes people happy, being bad makes them sad. 2 means there are some situations and choices that make you wonder and question. And 3 means directly or indirectly faces the gamer with issues and situations that invoke real emotion and or thought. A good example of this would be Journey or even Thomas Was Alone. Criteria 6. Filler. To not artificially extend a quest by repeating tasks or making the walking distance further without exploration. A score of 0 means filler content overwhelms the story. 1 means challenges relate to the story but often take longer than they should or are repetitive. 2 means overall each part feels integrated and meaningful, but there are some parts which you could skip and you wouldn't miss much. And a maximum score of 3 means every single stage, mission, challenge or area relates to the story and the world. A good example of this would be Transistor. Criteria 7. Moddable. Allowing mods or a map maker of some kind will extend the shelf life of a title indefinitely. If you make a good game, it will never die with mods. 0 means no modding or user-generated content at all. 1 means a level editor or custom in-game user-generated content. 2 means ability to overhaul the game with custom textures, models, and scripts. And 3 means you can mod it to the point where it's another game entirely and has no resemblance to the original. A good example of this would be something like Civilization or Half-Life. Criteria 8. Controls and options. Having extensive ability to customize your experience and catering to the maximum number of gamers' preferences. 0 means minimal to no controls or graphics options. 1 means decent controls and or fixed set of control options. 2 means partial rebindable keys and or easy to use controls and a decent options menu. And 3 means rebindable keys and or completely intuitive controls with a full suite of graphics and gameplay options, FOV sliders, colorblind options, full screen and windowed modes, and separate audio sliders. A good example of this would be WildStar. And finally, criteria 9, originality. Presenting ideas, themes, storylines, or gameplay elements that are creative and or innovative. 0 means nothing new or innovative at all. 1 means somewhat of a gimmick or novelty experience. 2 means a new interpretation and decent execution of existing material. And 3 means unexpected and well-executed gameplay, story, and theme. Good examples of this would be Mirage or even Rock of Ages. Now, these 9 criteria make the maximum total score of 27, and here's how you can reduce the complex system to a more consumer-friendly 5-step rating system. 0 to 6 would be considered simplistic. Note that I'm not saying that these scores are good or bad, as it is subjective. 7 to 12 would be a fun time. 13 to 18 would be a great experience. 19 to 24 would be unforgettable, and 25 to 27 would be considered an impossible utopia. Now, I ran some games through my rating system and this is how I subjectively scored them. We came in with Bastion at 20, tying with Morrow in the 20, Journey at 19, Age of Wonders 1 at 18, Caesar 3 at 13, and Plants vs. Zombies at 7. But like I mentioned in the other video that you should totally watch, just because something is considered better doesn't mean that it should be consumed more often. Taking these 6 games, I rearranged them to how much I enjoyed them just based on feelings, and this is how they turned out. We ended up with Morrowind at the top, Caesar 3 in second place, Age of Wonders 1 next, then Bastion, Journey, and Plants vs. Zombies. As you can see, I would say Bastion is a way better game than Caesar 3, but I personally enjoyed Caesar 3 more and played it for a lot longer. Bastion falls under the rating of unforgettable, and Caesar 3 is borderline a fun time, which is totally true, well, from my perspective anyway, but I only played Bastion once. Now, you can see how I tried to make a rating system that could be converted with as much meaning as possible. Reading the criteria and rubrics with the 27 points would give the clearest idea of how I was rating the game, but at face value, this can be reduced to, for example, a 5-star rating system. What I'm trying to do here is make everyone think a little bit harder about how we rate video games and to realize what we personally value for an enjoyable experience. If you haven't already, I suggest you watch my other video discussing the issue in more detail before jumping on into the comments. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.